This episode of Shifting Gears is brought to you by Punches to the Face, because we all know someone that definitely needs a punch to the face, especially one from Canada. All right, welcome to Shifting Gears. I'm your host, Joshua Gray. People online like to call me Clutch. Joining me is one of my best friends in the world. His name is David Bentz, but we like to call him Wiggin in the online world. And today's topics, we're going to talk about EVO briefly, WGLNA, which was fun, WCS, which the Premier League starts 3 minutes ago, the Steam sale, what games we've bought, what games you've bought in chat. Let me know what you guys bought. Also talk about the film The Dictator I saw, Pacific Rim, and opining on a specific issue about the us versus them scenario. So first off, Dave, it's always a pleasure to have you here. How you been doing?
I've been pretty good, man. Surviving the heat somehow over here. But other than that, just kind of same old, same old. Excited to be doing this.
Yeah, always excited. Episode number 80. Can you believe we've done 80 episodes already?
Well, you have. I've skipped a few because I'm late. But
yeah. Yeah, I think you've been
it's pretty crazy, man.
You've been the most co-hosted person, the person we've had the most on, I guess, other than me as the host himself. Yeah. Well, I've done all 80 episodes. All right. So let's talk about EVO real quick. This was a huge event that happened last year, or last weekend. It happens every year. And I first heard about it about 3 years ago when we both were getting to the esports scene. And every year it's gotten bigger and bigger and bigger. And this year was huge from what I could see. I saw a very limited portion because I was busy with World of Tanks for that weekend. I heard a lot of hype. I saw a lot of hype surrounding it with some of the victors that happened. I did see the controversy with Smash Brothers not being able to stream, but yet they still streamed it and had over 120 people watching it. So, Dave, since you saw a little bit more than I did, can you just tell me what you saw for the weekend?
Well, you said the magic word for the fighting game community, and that's hype. Like, if there's one thing to describe EVO, it's probably that. And I guess I'll be a little bit brief because neither of us are really fighting game people, but
yeah.
Just to break down the Smash thing, if people are wondering and hadn't heard about it, I guess so. Nintendo has this thing where they're just like really weird about tournaments, and they don't like to let people stream or even run their tournaments. And it came out after the Smash community had raised like almost $100,000 for charity to get that game at EVO.
Mm-hmm. There was 6 or 7 different games I could choose from, and whoever you would donate an amount, and you would say, I want this game to be there, and you would attach the amount that you donated to that game, and that's how Smash Brothers had that much money. They won that competition for that charity, just to give people a background of what that was.
They won the heck out of it. And I just died in League of Legends. Anyway,
no, Dave's finished up a league game. That's why he's...
Yeah, sorry.
It's all right. Elo's important.
Yeah. So what Nintendo did is they apparently contacted the people at EVO and tried to get them to shut down not only just the stream but the whole tournament. And eventually the outcry on social media, especially Twitter and stuff like that, caused them to very quickly revert their decision, which I don't really understand in the first place. Like, obviously people would be upset about a game that raised a bunch of charity.
It's some jackass sitting in an office that's never heard of EVO before, and his boss says, hey, we have to stop all streams for our games, and so he sees that Googling streaming Smash Brothers and then shuts it down. Doesn't know what it is, doesn't know how many people are going to be there. And then he sees the outcry, and his boss is like, you made a mistake. It's like, no, boss, you told me to do this. You clearly have no idea what you're doing. And that's what
you'd think that, but like Nintendo has a long history of trying to shut down streams. Not only of tournaments, but like if you watch a lot of YouTube Let's Players and things like that, don't do Nintendo stuff anymore because they'll claim copyright stuff just on Let's Plays and things like that. So it's obviously like a serious company policy.
That was also the issue with Smash Brothers on the MLG circuit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So like obviously it's like a company-wide thing where they really don't want people using their content for some reason, and I can't think of any justification for it. Like obviously, like people get not only a lot of enjoyment from the content, but it drives a huge part of their fan base. Like,
it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense to me if they're thinking that they want to monetize every single person, or they want to charge every single person that streams their game. They already bought the game, so maybe if they have like a broadcast license of $5. Like, hey, you want to broadcast a game? Here's $5. You can make whatever you want on it, but you just have to pay us a broadcasting fee. It's kind of like with XSplit. You have to pay a fee to use it at a commercial rate. I can understand that, and they want, maybe a little bit more money they think they're going to lose on people that'd rather watch the game, which I don't know who would rather watch a game than play a game. I'd rather play a game.
But back to just EVO specifically,
sure.
Smash was like a Smash success. They had 120,000 people concurrently, I think, at least one point, which is pretty great numbers. And it's really sort of impressive to see that, like, that's just that community. Like, over a 10-year-old game, just the community, no developer support, anything like that, and they're getting stuff like that going. So, StarCraft 2 fans, take heart and take note. Yeah. That's kind of what you need to do. But so they were Smash. The other big game was Street Fighter. They also had Marvel, but I was a lot less interested in that. Sorry, Marvel guys.
They had Infinite Crisis. I don't know if they had Mortal Kombat there or not, but Mortal Kombat's always been my favorite fighting game. I've always liked it more than Marvel vs. Capcom or even Street Fighter 4. Street Fighter 4 was the big push to get this even bigger community growing more and the streams getting bigger. But I've always liked the pacing of Mortal Kombat better compared to, especially Marvel vs. Capcom. It's too fast. I don't like ultra 80-hit combos in games. I want to limit, 18 hits, 20 hits. But
like Marvel vs. Capcom kind of breaks that mold of like fighting games being really easy to get into watching, because like I don't follow fighting games very much. The only one I even play is Smash, and that's not even that often. I'm terrible at it. But it's still like it's really easy to just like watch a Street Fighter stream or like watch EVO and know exactly what's going on for the most part. I mean, there's like more advanced stuff that you won't get, but you can still tell who's winning, obviously, stuff like that. And just get into it and get into the hype. But like for Marvel, there's just so much happening and it's so like different that it's a lot harder to get into. So just didn't excite me as much as Smash and Street Fighter in particular.
Yeah, I always liked watching King of Fighters because that combo system you could follow a lot easier instead of giant explosions and missiles and different characters coming on screen and these huge build-ups. So for me, I always liked watching those combos because I know how hard they were. Well, I can imagine how hard they are to execute. And when Bala from Mexico would win those tournaments, it was huge. EVO last year of him versus Cafe ID was awesome to watch. That was one of the greatest fighting series I'd ever seen. So King of Fighters 13 to me has always been a fun game to watch. When they did not have it at the last fighting game tournament for MLG, I was kind of bummed out about that because they didn't have as big of a turnout compared to the other games, and they got rid of the fighting game circuit altogether because they didn't have that big of a turnout of what they wanted. And because there was a community division on that, and that's a whole other episode we can talk about.
Yeah, there's a whole lot that goes into that, but we could talk about just the fighting. But anyway, I guess in conclusion, it was a pretty hype event. It was awesome to see. It's sort of weird going from what you notice from like StarCraft and League, where you have these studios and it's very professional, and then you look at EVO and it's literally like a bunch of dudes in like a hotel, like I think it was in a hotel, like a hotel conference room. Everyone's like sitting on the floor. They're huddled around like a CRT, but there's 120,000 people watching, so it's pretty amazing. So I guess conclusion on that, more power to them.
Yeah,
it's fucking awesome event.
Yeah, it's great. Hopefully, I had tickets to go this year, but I was streaming Tank, so I wasn't able to go. Maybe next year, schedule allows for it.
You should go, man.
I know. We both should go. It's a little bit closer for me, though, than it is for you on the East Coast.
A little easier for you to get there.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's talk about WGLNA. I'm going to talk real briefly on some of the best games that I saw, some of the best series, and what sticks out in my mind as probably because it was the most recent, but also it's pretty cool. It's just the play that Fulcrum Gaming had against Simple Tankers. They were on a map called Steps, and Steps is a map where it's kind of open, but there's some rock areas that you can hide behind. And Simple Tankers was to the north, and Fulcrum Gaming was to the south. And then they pushed in, and the counter push, the counter tactics that Simple had was great, but Fulcrum Gaming was so fluid in their movement. It reminded me of Bruce Lee talking about water. They were so fluid in their movement that they would mirror what Simple Tankers was doing, and it was really a sight to watch. It was very, very cool to see that. And they performed well. They actually were a little bit unhappy with their own play, even though they're one of the undefeated teams so far in the league. And if I actually go ahead and jump over to the league standing, Fulcrum Gaming does have 3 wins and 0 losses. Simple Tankers is 2 wins and 1 loss. Scurry Hard is 2-0. There might be 3-0 now. River Blood's 1-1. Refuse to Die is 1-1. These need to be updated. Turtle Police has their first win. They were 0-2 before. Bear Huggers is 0-3, and Cazadores has their first win. They are 1-2, and that's one of the teams. This is a Spanish-speaking team, so they're out of Chile and Argentina. So when we do interviews, I have to do it in Spanish with them. But they are so counter meta to the game. Like, for example, on steps, there's this middle road that you're never supposed to go down. They all go down that road. On another map called Himmelsdorf, there's this big courtyard in the middle that nobody goes through. They go through it. So they're like, oh, nobody ever does this, but they're starting to do it, and it catches their opponents off guard. In the beta division, we have Simp, which is 2-0, Wreak Havoc 2-0, Nerve is 1. I'm sure they're 2-0 now. Cunningham's is 1-1 on the list. EC is 1, Mop 4. Mop 4, I think, has a win so far. These need to be updated on that Google Doc. And then we have Strike and Simplistic. No Maraka. I only use Google Translate to look up team, which is Equipo. And I used match. And Frodan looked up the word match for me, but I already used it. So that's the only Google Translate I've had to use for Spanish. Now, if it was for Korean, yeah, I could say hello, and that's about it. But it's been a very exciting Season 1, Week 1. It's only 3 weeks of league play. And then we go into the finals in August, 17th and 18th. So we only have two more weeks.
Fast.
Yeah, it's quick. It's 5 matches a night, which at first we're like, man, this is a lot. But they go by fast when the matches are great. It's been a lot of fun, and the storylines are building very, very quickly. For example, the 2 teams that had lost all their matches so far, Bear Huggers and Turtle Police, they're the only teams that actually took a battle off of Fulcrum Gaming, which is the number 1 seeded team. So the brawl mode that they had against Fulcrum, that is their weak point right now. And if even of those teams which are at the bottom, some consider the bottom of the top 16, which I don't think Turtle Police is. I think Turtle Police is mid-range. Bear Huggers was invited at the last minute because they had to replace another team, so they're the least amount prepared because of time. But still, it's building storylines very, very quickly, and it's great to see that because we are starting to see rivalries and upsets already just in week 1, and that to me is pretty fun. So stay tuned for that.
Awesome.
Again, Thursday starting at 5 o'clock at twitch.tv/WGLNA. And for the VODs, go to the website, WGLNA.com. It's funny, too, because I have a lot of ignorant people on the internet because it's full of them. But they'll jump in chat room and like, is EG running this league? Why are you guys not doing StarCraft? We keep getting those questions. And I'm sitting there in chat going, how many morons do I have to deal with, man? I mean, I don't even hardly respond to most people anymore that ask me questions. But
Twitch chats, man, on big streams.
I know,
can't do it.
I know, because I want to answer legitimate questions because a lot of people are getting exposed to World of Tanks because of the reputation of the NASL crew and the Hero Level Productions crew working on other games such as StarCraft. So when people have legitimate questions, I want to answer them as quickly as I can because they deserve to, have the interaction because they're fans or subscribers from previous NASL leagues. We have these a-holes come in and are just like ripping apart, like, "Oh, this is good." And then you see all of the White Knights come out too, which is great because they'll just start like berating the guy. I don't have to really do much for that, which is fun. I think your mic just muted.
Yeah, there's a conversation going on outside the door. Didn't know if you guys could hear it. So
No. All right, so let's go ahead and shift gears now and talk about WCS. The Premier League is starting right now. It's happening right now. It's live. And it's Group A. That's Ryung, Nestea, Jim, and Major. Major is going to get knocked out. Jim is going to get knocked out. It's going to be Ryung or Nestea. Nestea, he is the creator of the universe.
I could see Major pulling off some sort of upset and getting around somebody.
Major
He's
could
playing
probably
pretty well in
Major,
Hellbats.
Major might beat Nestea. I mean, if he builds enough Hellbats, of course. Ryung, don't know.
The thing about Nestea and Ryung is, like, I haven't seen either of them play in a really long time.
Yeah.
So I don't actually know how well they're playing right now. I'm assuming Ryung's playing well because he's still on Axiom, right?
I think so.
Anyway,
he looks so young. That's the thing I remember about Ryung. I used to call him Ryung because I thought his name was Ryu and then an NG at the end. Ryung.
Yeah. So I'm pretty confident he's going to do well, but I have no idea how much Nestea's actually been playing. So you never know. Something crazy could happen.
And it's cross server for them. Yeah.
True, yeah. Though it hasn't really affected people too much. I mean, unless you're like complaining about it.
Yeah.
Certain teams do.
Oh well, so those Koreans are going to win in that group. Group B, which is taking place July 2nd. We're not going to talk about that. We have Group C, which is July 17th. That's Alicia, Apocalypse, Minigun, and Need. Minigun, could maybe take it.
Yeah,
Apocalypse lives in America, though. He's on Quantic. Alicia, I haven't seen him perform well in a while. Well, I take that back. I haven't seen them perform because everything has changed because of WCS. So
it's kind of hard, especially for a lot of the Korean players in the NA scene. Like they're big names, but they're old names.
Yeah.
That were winning GSLs like a couple seasons ago and stuff like that. Not they haven't done a lot recently, so you never really know what you're going to get with them, and it's a little harder to get excited about seeing them play.
Yeah. Well, yesterday was Group G, and the only American in that group, Vive, lost 0-2. So Hero went 1-2.
America.
Scarlet went 2-1, and Oz went 2-1. So we did have one American, Canadian, but still part of North America, qualify to the groups.
It's a really good result because Hero's been playing very, very well lately. So.
Yeah, and Oz went 2-0. That was one that people were like, Oz, yeah. I mean, Oz is Korean, he's there, but when does he win a tournament? He went 2-0. So that's a little bit of an upset, I think, at Group G, which is nice. And the rest of the groups are going to happen next week. And then July 25th is the end of Group H. And then we move into the Stage 2 round of 16. That starts August 5th, and that's going to be live. And if you like audiences, there will be audiences there, guys. We will have a live audience. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fun. I actually got to shoot some segments at Anaheim with some of the players that are in the round of 16 or even were in the Challenger League, and that was a lot of fun. So we have our editors working on that. And, we want to make the best show possible, but this is still a transitory period, still transitioning, and it goes fast. Usually these seasons go fast. I know Duckville doesn't like that. But looking forward to it. Looking forward to watch some tomorrow and whatever else, watch some tomorrow and whatever I can watch for the rest of the week, and then also focus on tanks because we've got more segments and stuff we're doing. Did you see the Terry the Intern segment, Dave? You probably haven't.
I didn't see it. No,
I know people in chat. I know Marbacca and other people have watched the Terry the Intern segment. It's a man on the street segment where we grab random people at the gas station next to the studio, and he asks them about World of Tanks and which teams are going to win. It is so funny, man. It is so funny. When the VOD's up, I'll send you the link. It's so
all right.
Funny.
Sounds like it could be pretty good.
Yeah, it is. All right, so that's it for WCS. Best of luck to all the players, and the storylines are going to build there. And ST, I know you can do it, man. Come on. I want to see you at the round of 16. I want to hang out with you again. All right, so Steam sale. Huge, long sale, and I was going to buy Dishonored, but I didn't. And then it was on sale for even more money off from yesterday, and I was like, oh sweet, so I got that. So I'm gonna hold out and see if anything else is gonna go on sale. I kind of feel bad for people like, oh, it's on sale, let me grab it, and the next day it's even cheaper, and they go, why do this to me?
Yeah.
So the games that I bought was Baldur's Gate, because believe it or not, RPG fans, I've never played Baldur's Gate. Resident Evil 6, because I loved Resident Evil 5, but I heard this one's not as good. Dave shakes his head. And Dishonored,
I've heard some bad things.
Yeah,
I'll say that.
Yeah, I'll just throw some mods on there and play it. And then Dishonored, which I heard some good things. I heard some people said it was like Thief. I have not liked one Bethesda game.
It's good.
I've enjoyed playing maybe about a couple hours, then I get really bored of it. So
it might happen. It's a pretty short playthrough though. It's like 7 hours maybe.
Okay.
But it's fun. It's you get what you're gonna get from it. It's like if you played Oblivion or Skyrim as a sneaky character, it's just basically that.
Okay.
Plus some magic.
All right. Well, it looked cool enough, and I'm sick of steampunk. That was an art style I really never liked, except when it's done right. And when I went to this masquerade ball in Hollywood a couple weekends ago, some people were dressed up in some steampunk outfits, and they looked fantastic because they had the right contrast, they had the right browns and blacks, and it just worked. Then you have some other steampunk that just looks goofy as hell, and it was glued together. So some designs I've seen, like, no, this is terrible, and some I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. But I heard it's kind of a steampunk-ish
It's definitely very very steampunky, but it's decent. It reminds me a lot of like Fable,
Yeah.
sort of the art style.
Okay.
It's kind of
Fable sucked,
steampunk, with some
so
fantasy.
that's not a good thing. Don't
The
be
first
such-
one was great.
Don't be such a
I've,
lemon.
look, I've enjoyed the Fable franchise, even though it never lived up to expectations.
Never lived up to Peter Molyneux's words.
Yeah,
Never lived
But
up to promises.
especially the first one was.
Listen,
very
the
good.
first one was cool. I bought it. The second one was all right. The third one I never played. To me, it was like, oh, these RPGs are great. And like, are you effing serious? Have you never played Final Fantasies? Have you never played any of these Eastern RPGs? But Western RPGs are way better now than the Eastern RPGs. So it's funny how the tables have turned about that. Except for endings, because Mass Effect. Oh my god.
I
Anyways.
still love Mass Effect. I don't care about the
I
ending.
know. They're making a fourth one, so
I'm really excited about
Casey Hudson can prove to be even more of a liar.
that.
I like to sit down with him and just say, Casey, why did you lie to everybody? Why? Why couldn't you man up?
Maybe that was what he thought was the truth at the time.
Yeah. That's, you know what? If he has that answer, then I will completely believe him. I'll say, all right, man. Sometimes you have press conferences and then things change and you realize, oh no, I said this back in 2008 and we're designing the game to come out in 2011. That's tough. I understand that, Casey. I understand. I just want to sit down with you and talk. We can talk. We'll do it. We'll do it over at the Rev 3 Games booth at PAX Prime. It'll be neutral ground. We'll have Adam Sessler moderate between us. That'd be great. Shout out to Adam Sessler, by the way. G4 and whatever they were doing with restructuring their company and stuff. He's great. He is a great journalist, and I really, really love listening to him. I would love to be on a show with him just to talk about the state of things. It's Max Schofield as well, too, who's on Red 3 Games. He has a show called Study Hall, and he had an episode about The Witcher and art style. Oh, man, it was so good. 7 minutes long, but it's so good. It's so good. So I really, really like what they're doing over there at Rev 3 Games, so make sure to check them out. There's a quick plug for them. All right, so, David, you bought any games on Steam for the sale?
Well, it wasn't quite on sale, but I got Brave New World recently, the Civilization 5 DLC.
Yeah, I see you playing it.
It's fantastic. It's a lot of fun, a lot more fun than I ever thought a game like that would be because it's pretty slow paced. But it's great. It's a good deep strategy game.
Tell me I should buy it. Is that what you're saying?
Maybe, man, if you got the cash to throw down, come join us.
Maybe it's like pay off credit cards, buy games. Pay off credit cards, buy TV.
I'll say this. It's not for everybody. It's a very slow game. Like one game is multiple hours. But it's the kind of thing you play a little bit, you save it, you come back to it. Some other time.
Oh. There should be warnings on Steam. You have spent $100. Are you sure you want to keep going? Yes. Yes. Keep going. Keep pressing that button.
I was thinking about getting Sins of a Solar Empire because it's $10, and I've heard a lot of good things about that game.
I actually went down the RPG list, and I have all the good ones. I miss RPGs, man. Once I get my TV at the end of the month, I'm going to play Last of Us because I haven't played it yet. But also I'm going to play The Lost Odyssey. You played that, right?
Oh, yeah. I played Lost Odyssey.
Yeah, that was designed...
I can't remember. I played it on... It came out on Xbox and on PC, and it was, like, broken and terrible on one of them.
Broken and terrible on PC.
I played the one it was shitty on.
Okay.
So it was a lot
Did it come
worse
out on
than
PC?
it could have been. Yeah, I can't remember
Okay.
which one I played it on.
But that was designed by the guy that did
good.
the Renaissance age of Final Fantasy, like 7, 8, 9, and 10. And he also did another one called The Last Story, which is on Wii. So those two RPGs I really want to play. There was another one that came out. I can't even pronounce it, but everybody was streaming it when it came out. It was for the PlayStation. I miss RPGs, man. I feel that there's not a whole lot to choose from now. We have shooters and action-adventure games. We don't have any dungeon crawlers except Diablo.
I think we just miss good games, man.
Yeah.
I miss shooters too, but like I'm not sorry, Call of Duty. Like it's boring and old now. I'm not interested in it. It sucks. Like, and what other options are there? I guess there's CS:GO, but again, it's just like the same rehashed game. There's no good options of any of these kind of games to play.
Titanfall.
I'm hoping there's some of the next gen stuff looks incredible.
Yeah,
So
I think we might have reached that point where the next gen stuff's going to incorporate things we haven't experienced yet, or in a way that we didn't know was possible.
just combining of genres, so you get mech and all that in the same thing.
Yeah, It's funny too, man, because you think about the same thing with movies, right? Movies follow the same formula. Every movie follows the same formula, except ones that are really, really different, and those are the ones that win Cannes Film Festival. But Pacific Rim followed the same formula of movies. You know.
I mean, sometimes that's what you want. Sometimes you want that mindless action movie.
Yeah.
Like I enjoyed The Expendables and Expendables 2. It's just
Yep.
stupid mindless action.
Yep.
As long as you know that's what you're going in for.
That's the same thing with The Dictator, which is what we're going to talk about next. I felt like watching a movie. I saw it was on Netflix, and I was like, I've seen Borat. I know what to expect in this. And I actually thought the commentary, the social commentary on it, was pretty funny and pretty in your face, especially at the end. So I want to jump into this. The Dictator came out, I think, in 2010. It's like 2 years old. It was Sacha Baron Cohen. I can't pronounce his name correctly, but he plays this dictator from Africa called Wadia or some country, anyways. So he's a terrible dictator. And it's funny, at the beginning of the movie, it says, in memory of Kim Jong-il. Right when it starts. So it goes in, and then they're telling him, like, you're the last great dictator. You know, all the other dictators are dead. So this must have been like 2011, probably. Maybe even 2012. So he goes through, and I won't spoil the plot because people can still watch it. But he has this monologue at the end, and it's actually on YouTube, and you can watch it. And it's so funny because it's so true, and it's scary how true it is, and especially with this NSA stuff. So he's in front of the UN, and he's like, why are you guys so anti-dictators? Imagine if America was a dictatorship. You could let 1% of the people have all the nation's wealth. You could help your rich friends get richer by cutting their taxes and bailing them out when they gamble and lose. You could ignore the needs of the poor for healthcare and education. Your media would appear free, but would secretly be controlled by one person and his families. You could wiretap phones. You could torture foreign prisoners. You could have rigged elections. You could lie about why you go to war. You could fill your prisons with one particular racial group and no one would complain. You could use the media to scare the people into supporting policies that are against their interests. And this is everything America is doing as a democratic republic. And he's like, why are you guys so anti-dictators? This is what a dictator does. Oh my gosh, my mouth dropped. That was at the end of the film. It's
just depressing.
It's just like in The Other Guys with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, and they go to not FEMA, the people that oversee the banks. And they're like, yeah, you guys did a great job on all this stuff, and the guys are sitting there at the desk, and they keep asking him, what about this company? What about this company? What about this? Did you foresee this? And the guy just doesn't respond. But that was a commentary, too, with the credits on the entire bailout and economic collapse that our country had for a bit. The bubble pop that happened. Excuse me. So if you haven't seen The Dictator, listen, it's a dumb comedy, but it's fun. There's a lot of ad-lib that happens. And there are some funny parts, but that monologue at the end is what sold it for me. And you can, if you want to skip the movie, you can watch it on YouTube. We're in that position, man, and we're seeing more and more media and games talk about that and reflect on art.
What's up with movies about dictators having really good monologues at the end? Isn't that Charlie Chaplin one? Isn't that also called The Dictator?
Yeah. That was in the 1930s, 40s, black and white when that came out. Yeah, this was not a Charlie Chaplin film. Not a Charlie Chaplin film. Well, speaking of films, let's go ahead and jump over to Pacific Rim. I saw this last night. Really enjoyed it. Very fun monster movie. I won't talk about the plot because Dave hasn't seen it. And also, I am not going to break my 2-week rule where I allow people 2 weeks until I talk about the specifics of the plot itself, or that for a video game or other things. So no spoilers. It was a fun monster movie, but my biggest gripe, and this is my biggest gripe with every action film, except for some parts of Skyfall, is it needed better direction with the fighting. Every shot with the fighting was a close-up shot. And these mechs, they call them tanks, too, in the game. So if you're a fan of World of Tanks, and World of Tanks war game is like, hey, what if you had a futuristic one? Like, what would you just call it? Mech Warrior, yeah. But it still would be really cool. Guillermo del Toro needed better direction with the fighting. He had really good direction with the characters, and some of them were really eccentric, and some of the acting was very... The thing about it, too, is there's people in this movie that are British, speak with an American accent, or they're from America and they have to speak with an Australian accent. So you're watching the film, and you know, if you've seen these actors before, you are really over-articulating your words. Like, really over-articulating it. And they're trying so hard to work on their accent to make it sound authentic for their character than to have emotion. And I know what that's like as an actor, is you try so hard to sound like the character is supposed to sound rather than feel like the character is supposed to feel. So that was a little bit jarring sometimes. So that's where the complaints will come from acting. But Idris Elba was awesome in the film. He's a phenomenal actor. He was great. The girl, Mako, she was great. So it's not... It doesn't destroy the film because you have other actors that play their characters very, very well. But it's just sometimes like, why not just have them speak in their regular accents, man? Why try to force accents on them?
Oh, when I go see it, that's all I'm going to be able to think about is, that accent sucks.
Sorry.
You've ruined it for me.
Yeah. Well, there's an Australian accent in there, too. And you're like, you're trying too hard, mate. You're trying too hard. But I know the difficulty of that. I've played German characters. I've played Asian characters. I've played French characters. And you focus so hard on the accent that you do lose out on being in a scene with someone else. So you do see that a little bit. But I'd rather focus on the close-up shots and the action shots rather than accents.
Cool, man.
But still, it still was awesome. And the fights were like, whoa. Did you ever watch Godzilla movies and think, how do I stop that? I'm too small a person to do anything. It's just pure, unadulterated horror that is destroying everything in its path. And you feel that in Pacific Rim. You're like, my God, how did they stop this? And then when they do stop it, you're like, oh, man, that was awesome. That was cool. So...
it's not the impression I got from old Godzilla movies, but yeah, I could see where you're going.
I did. Old Godzilla movies, man, I felt... how do you stop something that huge? And these things are 3 times bigger than Godzilla. But it's cool. So when you see it, we'll talk about it more, obviously.
My Godzilla impressions were that dude in that suit is punching the shit out of that moth.
I'm talking about the old
like, why
Godzilla,
are there little
man.
tiny Asian twins that are like
I'm talking about
singing? What's going on here?
Yeah. Godzilla versus Mechagodzilla. I loved watching those as a kid.
Oh,
I'm talking about the old original Japanese Godzilla and then the American edit where they put in Perry Mason to add an American story for that. That was freaky. And the commentary of Godzilla is the monster of nuclear war and the outfall of nuclear war. You created a monster, and how do you stop something so big? How do you stop a force so big that one person alone can't stop it? That's the deeper roots of Godzilla.
Mechs,
that's right. Bigger weapons. You stop weapons with bigger weapons. That's why we have... America has nukes. That's why Soviet Russia has nukes. That's why we keep developing crazier and different weapons, because if they hit us with one weapon, we'll hit them with another. So was the Cold War, and brings us to our last point for this episode, is the us versus them scenario. You have so many different political, cultural strifes that are in this nation. You have America, which is the only remaining empire in the world right now. We have different military bases and strongholds, and we take control of different areas of the world for their resources. So we are an empire. You have different allies of the American empire, and then you have the counter empires, which is China, which is so huge in its landmass that it has a lot of its own natural resources. And then you have the political empires of Russia, and then you have the bigger nation states of Europe. With the European Union, they're going to try to have the American Union, which people will fight to death against. And so you still have these strifes, even after World War II, which was the war to end all wars, or World War I, the war to end all wars. War will never go away. But as we saw in Watchmen, as we saw in Independence Day, and as we also see in Pacific Rim, whenever there's an external threat to humanity, aliens, for example, and Ronald Reagan talked about this too. He talked about different programs that would be set up to counter against an invasion. We have an us versus them scenario where the world bands together, we get rid of those differences, and we fight against a larger enemy. Dave, the question I have and what I want to talk a little bit about is if that really did happen, would we have an us versus them banding together of humanity, or would we still have this political strife and everyone for themselves?
We'd have it until about 30 seconds after it was over, and then we'd go back to doing the same old shit.
With our big mechs, then we'd have mechs fighting other mechs.
I think the biggest problem with an us versus them kind of scenario, I guess if we want to get super realistic about it, is like anything that would be big enough to make everybody on the planet get together and fight it would probably be unfightable anyway. Like if you take the alien example, like if there were aliens and they showed up on Earth and wanted our shit, like, yeah, we'd fight it, but there's just no way we would be able to do anything. Our space program is awful.
We have Will Smith though.
We have Will Smith, but now he's old and like a Scientologist or something. So,
well, then he knows all about aliens.
Oh, right.
Should be fine. That's why he became a Scientologist, so he can study about Lord Xenu.
Yeah.
And the rest of the evil ones.
So I mean,
not to knock anyone's religion, but that is their religion. That's what they
The Watchmen is like the best example of the only way it could probably come about is if it was something that was manufactured, a manufactured threat.
Mm-hmm.
But again, like that
false flag operation is what we call it in the military.
Newbie call. Yeah, I'm a realist newbie. I like to be optimistic about people and their intentions and things like that. But when it comes to like the Watchmen's a great example. But it only lasts for as long as there's something to bind people together.
Well, I love what the Night Owl says, that you perverted it. You perverted humanity. You think you've created peace, and Rorschach wants to expose the truth, but then that whole scene in the comics and in the film is so good. The writers touched on something that was so deep. It was more about, it's beyond visual effects. Zack Snyder, that was huge. Just I'm so glad I went back and read the comics this year. I just felt, I really want to read The Watchmen because I have been thinking about it. I saw the film twice, and I went back, read the whole thing, and it meant so much more reading it, and the film meant so much more reading it, of creating that us versus them scenario of what Ozymandias did. And he labels himself a hero. He labels himself, this is what we had to do. But was it? If AIDS is an epidemic that could harm all of humanity, why haven't all the nations banded together to help it? Because there's so much money to be made in the health world of taking care of someone with AIDS.
Well, that and you, with anything like that, you can always say, well, it's not me, it's somebody else. Right?
Yeah.
It's that people in Africa have to do that, or so on and so forth. Until it is you, and then you're like, why isn't anyone helping me?
It's kind of crazy with cancer, because cancer was something that old people got until my younger sister got it. I was like, whoa, man, whoa. So there's Dive for a Cure at the Lynnhaven Dive Center, which is in Virginia, that they do every year. They do a 24-hour dive. And I was a part of it because my family worked for the family that was in charge of the dive center. And Dave, that's close to where you live. You went diving with us, right? When we did that free.
Yeah, lesson? It was awesome.
Yeah, it was great. That's where I learned how to scuba dive. But after my sister got diagnosed, man, to me those type of drives meant so much more, and so my participation was increased. And if I see another good cause, I'll think, how can I help, even if it's just volunteering time. Because the dive center and that cure helped, that Dive for a Cure place helped my sister. And her cancer's in remission. She's fine now. But still, that thought of it's somebody else, oh, now it's within my family, is huge. So if you have a huge devastating force that is targeting all of humanity, and you have so many people that are affected by it because their parents are killed, friends are killed, their entire cities are leveled, destroyed, that's when you have a unification through tragedy because of it. And especially when you think about resources. If there is a tragedy and people have to donate their time and stuff, there still needs to be an economy that moves and flows. So on Earth, if we did have a huge alien event, all those resources would have to be pulled together to create a weapon to stop the alien forces. The weapon being the military, the infantry, some giant mechs that you make. But after they continue that war, how does the economy work with these weapons and these aliens? And that's one of the things the Pacific Rim did pretty coolly, pretty well, is the economy and the black market that exists after these aliens, invade. So another thing too that people touch on with Contact, with the film Contact, is you have this alien presence that contacts Earth and gives them specific instructions on how to visit them through that machine. And the people that are so against this are the religious fanatics. The religious fanatics of all types, be it Christian, Hindu, Muslim, etc. They're the ones that think, oh, this is a curse from God, or these aliens are invading because it's God's punishment against the earth. Is that type of mentality of people that have that instead of working with humanity, they divide themselves from humanity? Do you think that would be a huge issue if such an occurrence happened on Earth?
I mean, I guess it's possible. I think the idea that there'd be like some sort of mass religious hysteria where people are like, F those aliens, even if they were peaceful, would be a little bit far-fetched, especially in this day and age. But to be honest, it's in a weird way, it would be kind of an intelligent defense mechanism for people. Like, I think it was Stephen Hawking that said, if an alien race ever called, we shouldn't pick up the phone, because if any aliens out there could contact us or come here, they would be so unbelievably beyond what we're capable of that they could do anything. It would be a lot like when the conquistadors came over or something like that, or when America decided they wanted all of the western area of the United States. It'd be something like that. Yeah. Like, we would be completely at the mercy of whatever they would want to do.
Yeah,
so
that theme of history and conquest and colonization, taking over cultures that they thought to be primitive, and actually, even though unfortunately the Spanish destroyed a lot of the records, even the record books of some of the ancient tribes and civilizations here had some crazy stories about ancient technology, and had stories of fighting against people from the sky. And the reason why some Indian tribes would put up their hand when they would greet each other is so that they could count the fingers on the hand, because they would be at war with the six-finger people that would come from the stars. I mean, those stories like that, you'd think, what? They had to fight against some sort of race against their own, and maybe it was some weird human tribe they had to fight against, or giants or something like that. But still, it was an us versus them scenario. And the Indian tribes would unite sometimes to fight against the white people, because these were the invaders, the ones that were taking their resources and had better technology, and they had to learn from that technology and trade to get that technology. So,
well, it's always us versus them. It's just all the only difference is what you call us, right? What you include amongst us. Fortunately, we're living in a time where people continually include the entire world as the us, but we're still very far away from that being an actual reality. And I don't know if it ever will be, man, unless there is some sort of outside force that would do that. Or would it even be healthy for humanity to sort of fall under one giant umbrella of like leadership or anything like that? It's part of the reason that we thrived as a species is through conflict.
That's very true. And I think as well of culture, I find learning different cultures, especially Eastern cultures, so fascinating. There's a place in LA, San Gabriel Valley, it's pretty much all Asian. And it feels like I am in China. It feels like I am in a different world when I go there. There's places in LA, Little Romania, different areas, it feels like you're in a different world. They have a little Ethiopia close to Hollywood. And to me, to learn those different cultures and customs, I really enjoy, because you attach yourself to a story bigger than your own. You feel that you have certain traits or knowledge or even a look that you can identify with others, and it makes living in this world a little bit easier because you feel you have a home no matter where you go. And some people feel that with religion. Mormons, Catholics, Jews, when they find another Mormon or another Catholic or another Jew, instantly they have something in common with that person, and they have a help group already, ready to help them out. And having those different cliques or cultural groups, to me, is not a bad thing. To me, it doesn't. People are like, well, it divides people. It's like, no, it allows you to feel home somewhere in a world of 6+ billion people. But we also have so many things that link us together, that same human story. The same human emotions. We have the same disappointments, the same things that, make us happy, same fears. And that's the things that I would like to see unified, if it came down to an invasion from the world. And you do see that in Pacific Rim, and you do see that in other movies. And it's cool to see, but it does not forsake culture. You see kind of a blend of culture. You see a blend of the East and the West and fighting styles and stuff, which is really neat. We've seen that, geez, man, with the huge ninja push in the early 90s of all those different ninja and martial arts movies, of Bruce Lee trying to marry the Western entertainment with Eastern practices, which in my opinion is why he was killed, because many people from China were completely against him teaching these secrets that they felt was secret for their people and their culture, and they should not be shared with the West. And so they killed him with aspirin, or whatever it was. So I'm just going more into this whole unified Earth thing, and how people should not give up their culture to be part of a unified Earth. Like even with Europe, the European Union, people are upset about that. Even with currency, using the euro instead of their individual currencies. Their currencies have a history, and people are attached to that history with that currency. Just too bad the American dollar is a piece of crap. It's not worth anything. Anyways, that's all the musings I had, man. But good talk. I think I don't know what would happen in this world if that did happen, but I know people would be looking to America for a result and for leadership. Just like
I think they'd probably land in China, man. They wouldn't even mess with us.
Yeah.
There's more and more people there. So.
Well, the only reason I say America is because of our history with the World Wars. World War II. People look to us for a lot of help in the Western-speaking nation. And even China. China was one of our allies.
What would you do if, say, aliens landed, and said, "Oh, hey, we're taking over," and America surrendered? The leadership of America surrendered.
Like what type of aliens are they? Are they colonizing aliens? Are they like F you humanity? Or are they,
well, they're not like we're gonna kill everybody. They're just like we're taking over now. We're
well, it'd probably be better than the current government we have now.
I'm not doing my homework.
Yeah, the thing is, like, I need to have enough food stockpiled to last me for a while. I have enough other things to protect myself, but I would see what would happen, man. I would see what would happen. Relinquishing any control to a species or a group that does not understand the human experience, or is not one of us, I am very hesitant on. But with the current, government and the current way that we are just corporations and other interest groups that are more about profits than about people are destroying the planet. Not through pollution, but just through people's lives, how they have to be enslaved working a 9-to-5 job every day just to put food on the table, compared to creating their own lifestyle and way of life, and having a trade and teaching it on to their kids. If the aliens are like, listen, you've lost track, you need to go back to a certain way of life and enjoy the world more, I'd be like, all right, aliens, let's see what you have to say. But then it could just be a ploy to let our guard down and then escape us. I think the God, what's the word? It's when men don't act like men anymore; they act like sissies. The neuterization of
There's
men.
A lot of words you could use.
Well, it's that. Like men are so neutered now. You have to be sensitive, and you have to be this, and you have to be Justin Bieber in order to be popular and girls to like you. There's a great episode of South Park with the crab people that try to invade. And the reason that they were able to invade is because they had the people from Queer Eye for a Straight Guy, like, making everyone a metrosexual, so nobody was men anymore. Like, nobody could stick up and fight for themselves. I'm not saying that metrosexuals are like that, but when you have people that can't be who they are. They're trying to be somebody else. It allows the aliens to invade. That's why we need to have men. We need to have manly role models. We need John Wayne's back in the world, man. The pussification of America. Thanks, Wiseman 2024. That's one way to put it.
And we live in a world these days where like you understand why people like to hunt and stuff like that, because there's some primal stuff that like men
no joke,
feel
man,
like they need to do
when
that you can't do anymore, man. You can't just go get in a fight or something like that without it being like this huge ordeal.
That's one thing I love in End of Watch. If you haven't seen that film, do check it out, because they're cops, but they go in this guy's house and this guy's talking smack, and the guy takes off his badge. He's like, you know what, go down, let's throw down. And they throw down and they fight. And that's it. And the guy, he wins. They beat up the gangster, and that's it. They don't file a police report or say, you beat up a police officer. They just straight up fought like men. And the guy that they fought or the one guy fought, he was telling his homies, like, that was straight up gangster, yo. They didn't put me down for police brutality. They just straight up fought, and they told me I was disturbing the peace, and they gave me a warning, and that was like, so he was disturbing the peace. And that, to me, that's like just a man versus a man, and just to settle it, and that's it. I miss that. We have to go through paperwork and all this civilization stuff. Like, we have to keep things civilized. The more you try to pressure people to be civilized, the more backlash you're going to have sometimes. And that's what we talked about it when I had Duck.
It's a fine line, though, man. It's a fine line.
Well, you have to have a system of laws and stuff to protect people, to protect the peace, but when you are so actively engaged and try to micromanage a civilization or micromanage a country, that's where you get backlash.
Yeah. It's where you end up tapping everyone's phones and shit.
Yeah.
Hoping they're civil.
I feel teach correct principles and let the people govern themselves. And when they do overstep the boundaries or try to hurt someone or some injustice is done, that's when the government steps in. Ron Paul says it a lot better than I do, but that's how our country was for a while, until we had people with the best intentions, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions. Like, we need to have government involvement in healthcare. We need to have government involvement in insurance. We need to have this, because one case happened where an injustice happened, and then the government thought they had to step in. But no, all you had to do was rectify that one case, and if the people kept complaining, like, well, this should never happen again, guess what? It's going to happen again, because humans make mistakes. All right. Well, I want to thank Dave for coming on the show, because No Child Left Behind, Jawbone 17. That is such a good example. What a crock of crap that was. Again, great intentions, right? You don't want to have kids left behind in school that can't read and stuff, and the teacher's like, listen, we can't help you out. But no, you don't have it where everyone else has to suffer and take these Iowa standardized tests, so then there's no creativity in the classroom. The teachers are so focused on teaching on the test that they have to go through so much content in those stupid books instead of teaching us real principles and amazing things about history, man. It's just,
the fact that you got A students leaving high school and don't know how to do their own taxes is a bit of an issue.
Yeah. See,
teach practical things.
If the aliens came down and said all of that, then I'd be like, all right, I'm with the aliens. Clearly the American leadership can't fix us. That's actually a film called The Day the Earth Stood Still. The aliens come down, and it's a governmental force, and they come down and they say, listen, you humans are screwing things up. We have to move in because we don't want you to destroy your own resources. And that's why they move in. That's a good film, Day the Earth Stood Still. Good.
Is Keanu Reeves doing his best work? Because it's just
no, not the Keanu Reeves one. Even though Keanu Reeves...
Dude, the Keanu Reeves one's great. Just because that's how I imagine Keanu Reeves just acts in his day-to-day life.
Yeah, well, that was
the way
cool.
he looks.
But I don't even remember the theme of that film.
It's the same. It's the same.
Is it the same?
Basically, come on. It's Hollywood originality.
Well, all I remember is that the giant robot dude turned into a plague and he started killing everything.
Yeah, that was a little...
I was like, what? So... Tyler Joseph. Who is that, Razzle? I don't even know who that is. All right.
By the way, breaking news. Thanks to Wiseman. Major 2-0'd Young. So.
Well, color me impressed.
Things are getting interesting.
Good job, Major. There's an upset. All right. Well, Juan, he was on Team 8 for a while.
Yeah.
And now Team 8 is being sponsored. So they're changing their name to Green Wings.
That's the name.
Korean Air. Korean Air's brand Jin Air sponsors the 8 team to form Jin Air Green Wings. Hey, man, you can call me whatever. If you're paying my bills, fine. I'll be a Green Wing. I'll be whatever. I'll be a chicken wing. Chicken wings.
If Pornhub sponsored Shifting Gears, would you wear a Pornhub shirt?
No.
Shifting Gears?
I want to do Pornhub. Because it's a product I can't believe in. As much as fun as porn can be, it destroys the libido of men. That's another thing that's the pussification of America, is it destroys the libido of men and they get too focused on pornography rather than how to talk to real women. So that's another issue.
Fair enough.
All right. I want to thank everybody for watching. I don't know if I'm going to have an episode next week because the Premier League's going to get closer and closer. It's going to be really hard to have any episodes in August, guys, because it's going to be a very busy month for me. I'm going to be hosting 4 different events in 3 different cities. Can't tell you all the events yet, but that's going to be a fun month. So we'll see what happens. Shirts should be coming out pretty soon. I keep getting told by the people in charge, like, yeah, we're going to have it soon, we're going to have it soon. And then they fall through, which is annoying. So, oh, well, you'll get a shirt soon. I think it's going to be a Shifting Gears shirt that's going to be on sale first. Dave, we made it a whole hour. I thought we were going to be like a half hour, just one guest. But with your intellect and my talent of talking nonstop, we were able to lock in a whole hour.
My ability to be cynical about what would happen if the Earth got invaded.
Yeah. It's a good question, though. Any shout-outs you have?
Shout out to all my friends that won that League of Legends game that I was in at the beginning of the game. So Michael and Sheldon and Galen and all them. Right. That's it. And shout out to Trumpet for showing up, because Trumpet's boss.
Yeah, man. Trumpet, one of the long-standing fans of this show and for all of us. I want to thank everyone that tuned in, and I want to thank the people that make cool movies like Pacific Rim, because, you know, trying to put together a giant movie like that takes so many people in front of the camera, behind the camera, and the more and more I get involved in the world of Hollywood, the more appreciation I have for anyone that puts together a film. Dave and I have been doing esports events for a long time now, and we have a huge appreciation for any type of sporting events, but for films and for television shows as well, it takes a lot. So make sure to follow us on Twitter. He's at DBWigan. I'm at Clutch08. And stay tuned for the Wargaming WGL NA starting week number 2 of season play, Thursday at 5 p.m. And get ready for the live finals happening in August 17th and 18th in Las Vegas at Treasure Island, and also the finals events happening for WCS Season 2 for America. You want to stay tuned for more information about that. It's going to be released here pretty soon, I hope. I will see you guys next time right here on Shifting Gears.